Hello and welcome to the evening news for Friday, May 2, 2014. I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. In the headlines, 12-year-old allegedly raped, 7 months pregnant. GDF private remanded after cocaine find. Man hacked to death in triangular love affair at Haslington. Granger says government should return to the House for funding. And toddler drowns in reservoir. Now for the news in detail. A 12-year-old girl under quarantine is now 7 months pregnant after she was allegedly raped by a relative. According to a source close to the victim, the first rape incidents occurred in the latter part of 2013 and continued on several occasions. The 12-year-old had confided to a relative about what transpired. She related that both her mother and stepfather are alcoholics, and when they would usually go out to imbibe, the 19-year-old male relative would use the opportunity to have sexual intercourse with her. She told the source she was afraid to tell anyone since the perpetrator had threatened her. The matter was only brought to light some 3 weeks ago after the child complained of feeling unwell. It was at this point she was taken by her mother to a doctor who confirmed the pregnancy was well into 7 months. According to reports, the matter also attracted the attention of the Child Welfare Department, which investigated and placed the child in the care of an aunt of the alleged perpetrator. It is understood now that the child has changed her story about the rape incident. A Guyana Defence Force private was remanded this morning after he appeared in the Georgetown Magistrates Court charged with trafficking in narcotics. The details in this report.
The Guyana Defence Force private will have to make another court appearance on May 15 at the Providence Magistrates Court after his application for bail was denied when he appeared before Chief Magistrate Priya-Stunarayan Bihari today. Zega Phillips of 22 Kurukuru Susai Highway is accused of trafficking cocaine after Custom Anti-Narcotics official found 4 bricks containing the substance in his car, which was parked in the Cheddi Jagan International Airport parking lot. The cocaine, when weighed, amounted to 4.324 kilograms. Police prosecutor Oswald Messiah said that the discovery was made at around 14 hours 30 when a search was conducted on the vehicle PLL 9026 by a Canoe official. Phillips allegedly made attempts to bribe the official after identifying himself as a member of the Guyana Defence Force. The court heard that the Guyana Defence Force private was hired to transport someone to the Cheddi Jagan International Airport to collect another person. He is also claiming that he had no knowledge that the cocaine was present in the car. Bisham Mohammed, The Evening News.
Bisham Mohammed now reports that a triangular love affair ended tragically this morning in Haslington on the east coast of Demerara, leaving one man dead and his wife hospitalized.
41-year-old Chaitram Bharat, a fisherman of Lot 418 Haslington New Housing Scheme East Coast Demerara, would have sustained several chops to his head, upper body and one of his arms were almost severed after his attacker entered the house with a cutlass in his hands. During the brutal attack, the dead man's wife, Lomati Ramdat, a 36, intervened, and she too would have suffered chops about her body. Up to press time, she was in the theatre at the Georgetown Public Hospital undergoing a surgery. She was reportedly chopped to her head, face and hands. Piece of her nostrils and lips were severed, as well as portion of her elbow. The suspect, whose name was given as Errol Khan of Enmore East Coast Demerara, is still on the run, but the police of C Division have launched a manhunt for him. According to information received, the attack stemmed from an unfaithful marriage. This newscast understands that Ramdat and Bharat were married for the past 22 years, but recently Ramdat formed a relationship with Khan. At the scene, Lalita Govardhan, sister of the dead man, told Evening News when she learned of the chopping incident and what may have led to the brutal attack.
This morning, me lived in Clambrook, and this morning, 3 o'clock, the neighbor called me and tell me that my sister get chopped up and she husband get murdered. So me wake up the children, them, she 2 children stay by me, and like 3 years now they live by me. And we wake up the children, them, and they come. We call a taxi, and we come. When we come, the python of the police reach, and the police said nobody can go and see, and they said that he died.
Meanwhile, contrary to the story being told, the police stated that Bart was chopped to death, and his wife is battling for her life after bandits invaded their home at Haslington New Scheme East Coast Demerara earlier this month. Police investigations revealed that 2 men, both of who were armed with cutlasses, entered the couple's home through a window. The men demanded cash and jewelry, during which the 2 victims were chopped about their bodies. Bisham Mohammed, The Evening News.
Meanwhile, a man was stabbed to death last evening on Kwamina Street after an argument ensued with him and another man over the dumping of garbage. Here's more.
Nigel Lawson, 42, was fatally stabbed around 20 hours on Thursday evening after he dumped garbage in front of the premises of his assailant. Reports are that Lawson, who is a handyman and reportedly works at a wash bay, was walking east along Kwamina Street when he was approached by a man on a bicycle who shouted at him to remove garbage from a spot that he had dumped it. Lawson reportedly refused and a scuffle ensued between the two men. It was during the scuffle that the security guard stabbed Lawson above the body 3 times. Residents in the area raised an alarm after they heard the screams of Lawson and summoned the police, who arrived promptly on the scene. The residents pointed out that Lawson is well known in the area. Shortly after reaching the scene and cordoning off the area, paramedics arrived and pronounced the man dead. Relatives also came shortly after and confirmed his identity.
The leader of the opposition, David Granger, says the Donald Ramotar administration should return to the National Assembly for funding for key programs and projects that were affected due to the budget non-approvals during the consideration of the 2014 estimates. The details from Svetlana Marshall.
A Partnership for National Unity leader David Granger says it was never the intention of the opposition to disapprove major projects and programs within the 2014 budget presented by Finance Minister Dr. Ashney Singh. He, however, explained that monies for disapproved entities such as the Ghana Information Agency (GINA) and the National Communications Network (NCN) were lumped with other important institutions.
So, for example, in the case of the Cheddi Jagan International Airport, we support the development, the improvement of hinterland airstrips, but it was bunched with the Cheddi Jagan International Airport. Similarly, under the Ministry of Finance, we support loans for students, but it was bunched with other items which we couldn't support. In the Office of the President, we did not support allocations to NCN and GINA, but it was bunched with other items in the Office of the President.
According to Granger, the opposition had no other choice than to disapprove program areas that included controversial projects or entities. He said while it was never the intention to paralyze government, it simply wanted to register its disapproval. However, Granger said the government should return to the House for funding for areas of mutual interest.
It is our expectation that the government will bring back those items in a disaggregated form so we can approve items such as the students' loan, the $450 million for student loan, the hinterland airstrips and other items.
In April, the National Assembly approved an amended 2014 national budget to the tune of $182.5 billion. The opposition disapproved $37.5 billion from the original $220 billion budget after close to 2 weeks of heated debates. Svetlana Marshall for the Evening News.
More news still ahead. Stay tuned. You're watching the Evening News. This is the Evening News. Welcome back. The government of the United States of America says it regrets the decision taken by the government of Ghana to revoke the work permit of the head of the U.S. LEAD project, Glenn Bradbury, over concerns about a continuation of the program. Alexis Rodney reports.
The U.S. said that while it welcomes the willingness of Guyana's government to re-engage discussions on the LEAD project, the decision to revoke Bradbury's permit is contrary to the understanding that Guyana's government was committed to reviewing the project. According to a press release, the LEAD project is designed to benefit the government and the people of Guyana through the promotion of understanding and consensus building within the National Assembly. It said the project implements the objectives described in the U.S. Aid Assistance Agreement for governing justly and democratically. Head of the Presidential Secretariat, Dr. Roger Luncheon, had told reporters at his post-cabinet press briefing on Wednesday that Bradbury's work permit was revoked. According to him, the reason behind the revocation was because Bradbury had offended the immigration laws of Guyana. Bradbury, a Canadian citizen, has been employed by the U.S. government to head the project here in Guyana. Guyana's government had long objected to the project, complaining that it was not consulted on its final design. However, U.S. government had maintained that extensive consultations were conducted between the two parties and that it was going ahead with the project with or without the support of the government of Guyana. For the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rodney.
Meanwhile, opposition leader David Granger appears to be supporting the U.S. government's position on the LEAD project as opposed to the position taken by the Guyana government. Despite the concerns raised by the national government, Granger is supporting a foreign power and today declared that Guyana will pay the ultimate price for its recent move to revoke the work permit it had issued to head of the LEAD project, Glenn Bradbury. Swatana Marshall reports.
The government will have to pay a price for terminating the work permit of a representative of a program sponsored by a friendly country. There will be a cost.
That was leader of the opposition, David Granger, commenting on government's decision to revoke the work permit issued to the head of the LEAD project, Glenn Bradbury. Granger said too that he had no knowledge that negotiations with the parties had broken down, but nonetheless opted to support the foreign power as opposed to the national government's position.
I understand that the Embassy of the United States of America and the Office of the President were actually involved in talks. I did not get the impression that the talks had broken down and that such a drastic action was necessary at this point in time.
Speaking at his Hatfield Street office, Granger said the opposition regrets the actions taken by the Donald Ramotar administration, contending that the project, which was designed to promote democracy, was beneficial. He said it was giving the young people of Guyana an opportunity to be educated on the local government system.
The withdrawal or the cessation of the program will hurt the ability of young people to comprehend a very complex electoral system and to participate fully.
Granger's position should be taken with a tip of salt, according to a top PPP executive who pointed out the irony in the matter. The official said that Granger was putting the interests of the U.S. in front of that of the local government because the project would benefit the opposition more. The PPP executive maintained that the true intentions of the IRI and the U.S. were very evident in several objectionable clauses of the LEAD project. The official maintained that it was a shame that Granger refused to stand on the side of the Guyanese people and their government, but it was not surprising given the history of the PNC. On Wednesday, head of the Presidential Secretariat, Dr. Roger Luncheon, announced that Guyana government has rescinded the work permit and stay extension of Bradbury, who led the United States Agency for International Development, USAID-funded International Republican Institute, IRI Leadership and Democracy LEAD project. According to Dr. Luncheon, Bradbury had breached the immigration laws of Guyana. Svetlana Marshall reporting for the Evening News.
10 single parents have successfully completed training and have acquired the skills to operate businesses from their homes. The project, called Distinctive Approach to Entrepreneurship Development Among Single Parents, targets both male and females and is a collaborative effort by some students of the Berbice campus and the Rotaract Club of New Amsterdam. The single parents acquired skills of their choices in either cosmetology or catering. Those who chose cosmetology selected between hair and nails. According to Now Skilled Mothers, the program was a success and greatly received. The Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry recommenced today with its first witness, Reverend Reuben Gilbert, reappearing to be further cross-examined. He told the inquiry that he has forgiven the hierarchy of the People's National Congress and all those who were involved in subduing him during the 1970s. More from Alexis Rodney.
Queen's Counsel Jacqueline Samuels Brown, during her cross-examination, threw the question now to the Reverend that given all the atrocities that were allegedly meted out to him by the ruling government during the late 1970s and early 80s, if he, as a minister of religion, has forgiven those whom have caused him grave discomfort.
I have forgiven those persons who have done me wrong. I have forgiven them. In 1992, I was interviewed by a journalist, a Guyanese journalist, and in that interview he asked me, he said, if the government changes with the coming election, would you be glad to see these persons be brought to justice? And my response then was, to do that would cause Guyanese to suffer greater suffering than they have gone through during the period 70 to 79.
Gilbert had returned to be further cross-examined by legal representative for the People's National Congress, Basil Williams, and the commissioners, as the final day of the first session of the Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry continued at the Supreme Court building. Gilbert had told the hearing 2 days ago that he had suffered tremendously at the hands of the PNC government, headed by the late Linen Forbes Sampson Burnham. According to him, it was because of his close association with the founding leader of the Working People's Alliance, Dr. Walter Rodney. Williams, during his cross-examination, recalled Gilbert's testimony where he had said that he had asked his brother Neville, who was also a member of the People's National Congress, to stay at his home while he fled for safety. Gilbert told the Inquiry on Wednesday that because of plans by the Youth Socialist Movement to have him killed, he had asked his brother to stay at his home while he sought refuge for the night at the University of Ghana. He said that it was until the following morning, while his brother was relaying what had transpired the night before, that he revealed the plan of the PNC government to have him killed. Gilbert maintained he was protecting himself.
From my understanding, that he knew his colleagues because he was a member of the PNC.
He knew his colleagues?
Yeah. He would know a number of individuals within the PNC.
But therefore, would that have made it necessary for you to tell him, alert your brother, look, my life is in danger, I'm putting you to stay in this house, be on guard?
My brother would not be in a position to do anything about it.
So why put him in?
It was my duty to protect myself from being killed.
By replacing yourself with your brother?
Not placing myself with my brother, but removing myself from the house.
Williams further pressed the witness to confirm whether he, Gilbert, was in fact blaming the PNC government for the difficulties he experienced during that time.
The actions were quite clear to me.
Is that a yes? Is that yes?
Yes.
For the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rodney.
Meanwhile, Dr. Walter Rodney's elder brother, Edward Rodney, today told the commission inquiring into his death, which took place some 33 years ago, that there are many reasons why his brother may have wanted a walkie-talkie device. More from Alexis Rodney.
Among the many reasons Rodney said his brother may have wanted a walkie-talkie device was the freedom to communicate with other members of the Working People's Alliance. He informed the inquiry also of the training Dr. Rodney received in East Africa. He said his brother may have developed the notion that WPA members having walkie-talkies in their possession will allow the party to cover its base.
He has seen the value, the use or uses of these kinds of equipment. And therefore, I want to believe that operating in his mind was that the WPA too could utilize, as had been done in Mozambique, walkie-talkies to cover distances which the walkie-talkie would extend to, and then another walkie-talkie would extend beyond and beyond, so you had a network.
He said his brother believed in self-sufficiency and had preferred to get someone to construct a device rather than buying it on the market.
Whilst Walter was in East Africa and he went to Mozambique, he would have been associated with Frelimo. And Frelimo would have from time to time shown him or demonstrated to him how illogical it was to try and capture equipment that had belonged to the Portuguese. Because once you captured that equipment, then you had to go into the Portuguese military system. You have to build your own. You have to be self-reliant. You have to construct your own. That's what operated is.
Legal counsel Glenn Hanneman further questioned Rodney if he knew of any reasons why his brother might have found an interest in explosives as well. He responded in the negative. Dr. Walter Anthony Rodney was killed on Friday, June 30, 1980, after a bomb exploded in his lap while he sat in his brother's car on John Street outside the Georgetown prisons. According to Rodney's younger brother Donald, who was driving the car at the time, ex-Army Sergeant Gregory Smith had given Rodney the bomb concealed in the walkie-talkie that caused his death. Smith left the country shortly after the incident in June for French Guiana, where he lived and worked until his death some 10 years ago. For the evening news, I'm Alexis Rodney.
Lawrence Rodney, the brother of Walter Rodney, was grilled earlier today by attorney Basil Williams on his brother's plans to overthrow the PNC government. More in this report.
Legal counsel Basil Williams quizzed Lawrence Rodney on his brother's involvement in an alleged plan to overthrow the People's National Congress government as the cross-examination exercise began. Rodney told the commission panel that he was aware of most of the work of his brother. He was then asked by Williams whether the Working People's Alliance, and by extension his brother, had any respect for the ruling president at the time. He responded saying that while they respected the president for his high position, they nevertheless wanted him to go by any means possible.
What you understood those words to mean, that he should go by any means necessary?
I understood it to mean that either by electoral means or by extra electoral means. Either by electoral means or extra or beyond electoral means.
And what would some of the extra electoral means be in your mind?
Well, one cannot surmise, but one would want to believe that it would involve work stoppages and at some point in time, a general strike. Because normally, it is the general strikes that leads to a dictatorship being overthrown or resigning.
The lawyer representing the PNC party further questioned the witness about Dr. Rodney's coordinating activities to achieve his aim of overthrowing the government.
He coordinated his activities to educate the working class.
Not to accomplish a goal.
He coordinated his activities to educate the people. Rodney went to the people. He held mass meetings.
Yeah,
he mobilized them.
Okay. Is that answering my question? That those were some of his activities, mass meetings?
For the most part, indeed, right up until the day or two before his assassination, he was engaged in one of the largest mass meetings ever held in Guyana.
Now,
he went to the people.
Meanwhile, several new lawyers have joined the commission of inquiry that is probing the death of historian Dr. Walter Rodney. Trinidadian lawyer Selwyn Peters, in association with attorney Brian Clark of Barbados, were both admitted to the bar in Guyana in order for them to legally represent the Guyana Trades Union Congress in the inquiry. Barbadian lawyer Andrew Pilgrim will be looking into the interests of Dr. Rodney's wife, Patricia, and their 3 children. Also, another Trinidadian lawyer, Keith Scotland, will be representing the brother of Dr. Rodney, who was in the car with him when it exploded. Reporting for the Evening News, Gomati Gangadin.
Meanwhile, the Guyana Hindu Dharmic Sabha Essequibo Prant will be hosting a special seminar for all Mandir leaders on May 18 at the Cottonfield Secondary School. The seminar aims to foster unity among leaders as well as to update executive members of the various temples on the Sabha's planned activities. The seminar is expected to commence at 10 hours. Approximately 200 leaders from temples are expected to attend. According to Public Relations Officer for the Essequibo Coast Prant, Rima Natram, all executive members along with active youths from the various temples throughout the Essequibo Coast are invited to attend. Natram said the seminar will be conducted by the Prant chairman Kedar Prasad and co-chairman Parmanand Singh, and they will be reminding executives of their duties and responsibilities in managing temples. In case you've just joined us, this is the Evening News. Stay tuned for more news ahead. This is the Evening News. Welcome back. Now some news from the courts. Nigel Nerville, aged 18, of 168 Duncan Street, Kitty, on Friday pleaded not guilty after he was slapped with 4 charges when he appeared before Chief Magistrate Priya Sinarayan Bihari in the Georgetown Magistrates Court. The first charge alleged that on April 29 at Festival City, North Rheinfeldt, Nerville, be armed with a gun, robbed Marcel Fitzeben of 1 gold chain valued $150,000, while the second charge alleged that on the day in question, Nerville discharged several rounds at a virtual complainant with intent to maim, harm or disfigure. The third and fourth charges alleged that on the said day, Norville also had in his possession a 9mm pistol and 5 bullets without a license. Defense counsel Adrian Thompson told the court that his client was allegedly caught near the scene of the crime, and if they were so, then he should have been caught with the stolen article as well as the weapon and matching ammunition. According to the police report, the gun was recovered on the defendant's person, but they haven't recovered the gold chain. Norville was remanded to prison and will make his next court appearance on May 23 in the Georgetown Magistrates Court before Magistrate Priya Sinran Bihari. On the evening news, we now take a look at some news from the region. A senior United Nations official has said that significant gains have been made in the fight against the cholera epidemic in Haiti that has so far killed thousands of people over the past few years. The Deputy Special Representative for the Secretary General in Haiti, Peter de Klerk, has attributed the gains to UN support for the government's comprehensive strategy of monitoring, rapid response and planning for long-term solutions. He said since the beginning of the dry season, the lowest number of cases and deaths since the start of the epidemic have been registered, with a reduction of 75% of cases in the first trimester of this year against the same period last year. The Boston-based Institute for Justice and Democracy in Haiti has blamed UN peacekeepers for introducing the disease into the French-speaking CARICOM country and has started legal proceedings in New York with claims totaling billions of dollars. Internationally, many pro-Russia rebels have been killed, injured and arrested in Ukrainian government offensive in the eastern city of Slovakian, the acting president Oleksandr Turchinov has said. In a statement, he said the operation in the rebel-held city was not going as quickly as hoped. Separatists shot down 2 Ukrainian army helicopters, killing a pilot and serviceman. 7 have been injured. The UN Security Council is meeting in emergency session at Russia's request. Mr. Turchinov said the fight against rebel forces was greatly complicated by the fact that the conflict in eastern Ukraine was taking place in population centers. This is the evening news, where now take a look at your bridge reports. The Demerara Harbour Bridge will be closed on Saturday, May 3 at 5 hours 30 for a period of 1.5 hours, and the Berbice River Bridge will be closed on Saturday, May 3 at 6 hours 15 for a period of 1.5 hours. And for those using the ferries, the Purika and Supanam ferries will be departing at 7 hours on Saturday, May 3, 2014. Both ferries are also slated to depart their respective locations at 19 hours on Saturday, May 3, 2014. Join us after the break for sport, sponsored by Markov. This is News. The Region 2 administration today handed over 6 Jialing 110-8 motorcycles to the Environmental Health Department. Additionally, the department also donated 5 bicycles to Maternal Child Health Department of health centers across the coast. The Region 2 Chairman Parmanand Pusod handed over the motorcycles and bicycles. He noted that this donation is testimony of the Government of Guyana's commitment to the improvement of the health sector. Meanwhile, Regional Health Officer Dr. Alison Brown thanked the government and the Region 2 administration for the cycles. In observance of World Press Freedom Day, which will be celebrated tomorrow, the European Union is calling for all human rights for the media to be protected. More in this report.
In a message to mark the 21st anniversary of World Press Freedom Day, United Nations High Representative Catherine Ashton has stated that free, diverse and independent media constitutes one of the cornerstones of a democratic society by facilitating the free flow of information and ideas and by ensuring transparency and accountability. Ashton also made a call upon all governments to abide by international norms and to put an end to the intimidation, harassment, censorship, and random detention of journalists. She said efforts to protect journalists should not be limited to those formally recognized as such, but should also cover support staff and others who use new media to reach mass audiences. She said that technological innovations in information technology and communications have created new ways of promoting freedom of expression, but have also brought new challenges. Catherine Ashton stated that the EU will soon adopt the EU guidelines on freedom of expression online and offline. The aim of those guidelines is to address unjustified restrictions on freedom and provide valuable guidance to EU officials and staff across the globe. For the evening news, I'm Gabrielle Patram.
The police are investigating the circumstances under which 1-year, 11-month-old Tavish Ramnarine of Friendship Quarantine died this week. A search for the toddler ended tragically when the child's body was recovered on Thursday. The child was last seen playing in the yard on Tuesday while his mother, 22-year-old Sunita Balkaran, was preparing dinner at around 18 hours. The woman said after a while she did not hear any sounds from the child and called out but got no response. She went in search of him frantically, only to find his body in a nearby reservoir, which is being used by her husband to store water for the farm. A Partnership for National Unity APNU says that it has no confidence in the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport to effectively carry out the administrative duties of the New Opportunity Corps. Let's find out more in this report.
APNU once again says it has no confidence in the ability of the Culture Ministry to manage the affairs of a New Opportunity Corps, given the increasing accusations of sex abuse and rape at the institution. Party leader David Granger said the party is concerned about the growing levels of violence at the institution and wants the government to launch a commission of inquiry into the affairs of the NOC.
4 dozen students out of 150 breaking out of that. It's a serious matter, and you can be quite sure that United Nations agencies and other human rights agencies are going to make a comment on that.
APNU member Christopher Jones also weighed in on the issue, stating that the recent remarks from the Minister Frank Anthony are callous.
Minister Frank Anthony said, when the first question was asked about the new escape, is that he's unaware of any such. This would have been after 3 weeks of this incident. The fact that Minister Frank Anthony could say to this nation that he's unaware after 3 weeks of 14 or 16 students escaping from the institution shows clearly that he's not in control of the institution. His statement the following day, when he mentioned that the students there are no angel, can best be described as callous, repugnant, and absolutely distasteful and unbecoming of a minister who has the responsibility of this institution.
Jones further stated that there was a major breach of procedure in the recent incident at the NOC.
We have to reiterate the fact that once a student escapes from the institution, the standard operation procedure is supposed to be your parents is alerted, the police force within the area is alerted so that they can aid in recapturing them, and the parents is aware of the whereabouts. In this case, in the most recent case with the 16 students that escaped, their parents were not informed. In fact, the 15-year-old and the 16-year-old parents said to me that they only learned that their kids escaped from the institution after they were recaptured, brought to Georgetown, and being held at the Sophia facility.
This statement from the opposition comes just weeks after allegations of sexual assault surfaced in the media regarding officials at the correctional facility. For the evening news, Chumo Paul.
The National Association of Agricultural, Commercial and Industrial Employees, NACI, its president Kenneth Joseph says that the hire purchase legislation should be tabled before the National Assembly without delay.
NACI's head Kenneth Joseph says that it is time that consumers are relieved from the tyranny of hire purchase contracts, and as such it is time that the hire purchase legislation come into being. He called on the ruling administration to fast-track the process to bring the legislation before Parliament so that much needed relief could be had in this area.
When you finish paying for an item, it costs about 3 times the real cost. And then let's imagine that you've already paid more than the cost of the item and you have a problem with payment for a month or 2. They come and remove the entire good from you. So we're figuring that that is wrong and it's unfair. So we want laws that will protect workers in hire purchase arrangements.
Tourism Minister Irfan Ali had said when this legislation comes into force, consumers will no longer be at the mercy of hire purchase schemes, noting that the current system that prevails is disadvantageous to consumers. Ali also added that the bill is not only being drafted with the protection of the consumer in mind, but also that of the companies which offer hire purchase plans to consumers. Reporting for the Evening News, Gomati Gangadin.
Quartz Guyana Inc. today donated kitchen appliances to the Guyana Hindu Dharmic Sabha for their Center of Abused Children. More from Gabriela Patram.
The Guyana Hindu Dharmic Sabha today received a refrigerator and store from Courts Guyana Inc. to aid in the furnishing of the Shabazz shelter for abused children, which is located under quarantine in Berbice. Speaking on behalf of Courts was Marketing and Media Officer Trudy Abrahams, who stated that the company is very excited to be part of such an event.
Courts has been a part of giving to the Hindu Dharmic Sabha for the past 2 years. Since the construction phases of the shelter, we have done 2 donations, and we're very happy to be a part of it. Now that the shelter is constructed, they're in the phase where they're trying to, put things together and make it a home for the less fortunate. And we're also in that phase. Today we're making the donation of a stove and a fridge.
Meanwhile, President of the Dharmic Sabha, Dr. Vindhya Prasad, who received the items, noted that Courts has been a proud partner in this initiative.
On the 5th of May, we will be opening this shelter called Bal Nivas, which will cater for children of all backgrounds. There will be a board governing this process, and we'll be working very closely with the Ministry of Human Services and the Child Protection Agency. And we hope that with this 60-member capacity building, we will really make a big difference in what's happening. It is sad that we have to have facilities like this and that our children even require such a facility, but there is a need and we cannot close our eyes to it. It is to our responsibility as the premier Hindu organization in this country.
On the 4th of May 2014, the Dharmic Sabha will be hosting a concert with international Indian superstar Sonia Nigam. The proceeds from this concert will go to offset further expenses for the center. For the Evening News, I'm Gabriela Patram.
In case you've just joined us, this is the Evening News. Stay tuned for more news ahead. Welcome back. Now for a look at sport, but first, the headline. Several teams win in Linden leg of Guinness football. McCullum Jadeja star in Super Kings win, and Tyson Gay banned for a year. Our sport cause, of course, comes to the kind compliments of Macworld.
This is the machine you asked for, and it's what we are delivering. Introducing the new CAT D2 series.
Improvements made with you in mind. A mechanically controlled engine designed to cope with Guyana's toughest conditions. Lower fuel consumption and less maintenance, which reduces your owning and operating costs. The highest productivity in the market. Robust design, which is built to last. MacCorp, the only authorized Caterpillar dealer in Guyana, bringing integrated solutions for your success. Let's build Guyana together.
Now for some cricket news. Opener Brendan McCullum continued his fine form, and Ravinder Jadeja picked up 4 wickets to lead Chennai Super Kings to victory over the Kolkata Knight Riders as the IPL moved to India. McCullum stroked a 40-ball 56 and Super Kings won 48 for 3 from 17 overs after the match was shortened due to rain. Jadeja, the left-arm spinner, then picked up 4 for 12 and Mohit Sharma 3 for 22 as the Knight Riders were restricted to 114 for 9 when the overs ran out. Robin Uthappa 47 and Yusuf Pathan 41 accounted for the bulk of the runs as the other 9 Knight Riders batsmen all fell in single-digit scores. The Pepsi IPL will continue tomorrow with the Mumbai Indians playing the Kings 11 Punjab and the Delhi Daredevils against the Rajasthan Royals. Back on the local scene, some football news. Several teams were in winners' row on the first 2 nights of the Linden leg of the Guinness Street Football Competition, which continued at the Mackenzie Bus Park. Details in this report. The defending champions Silver Bullets sent an early message to all their opponents last Wednesday night following a 7-0 drubbing over High Stars at the Mackenzie Bus Park. Competing in the 5th game of the night, Silver Bullets, who shot down Assassins in last year's tournament to walk away with the big prize and 1-year bragging rights, got a hat-trick of goals from Colwyn Drakes, who scored in the 4th, 8th and 17th minutes of play. Robin Adams and German Samuels supported with a double each. In the first game of the night, Spriteland defeated Rough and Rugged 2-1, while Eagles scored a 2-0 win over Trainline Warriors. Attackers then defeated Hard Knocks 2-1 on penalty kicks, while Al Chuni got the better of Silent Assassins 3-2, also on penalty kicks. The final game of the night saw Retrieve Unknowns defeating Ripping Bullets 4-0. The Linden leg is the first of several regional tournaments to be held in the coming months. The winners and runners-up of each leg will advance to the national playoff, with the winner of the national competition set to be Guyana's representative at the Guinness Caribbean Street Challenge later this year. And finally, some athletics news. America former 100 and 200 meters world champion Tyson Gay has been banned for a year after testing positive for a banned substance. He has also returned the silver medal he won in the 4x100 meters relay at the London Olympics 2 years ago. The 31-year-old's results since July 15, 2012, the date he first used a product containing a prohibited substance, have been annulled. His ban has been backdated to June 23, 2013, the date he tested positive. Gay is eligible to return next month and is able to compete in future Olympics and World Championships. He could have been banned for up to 2 years, but received a lighter penalty as he cooperated with the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. And with that, we have come to the end of sport, which is sponsored by Marcorp. Of course, you can find these and many more stories in tomorrow's edition of the Guyana Times. And here's an invitation to join us on TVG Channel 28 and on Radio Guyana Inc. 89.3 in Essequibo, 89.5 in Georgetown Environs, and 89.7 in Berbice and Unicary, Suriname. With that, we've come to the end of the evening news for Friday, May 2, 2014. I'm Avinash Ramzan. From all of us here, thanks for watching.